out. Normally your ganache cake would have sat out on the bench overnight like this. Mine hasn't, so it probably doesn't need this step so much, I reckon, but you just want some boiling hot water, and you want to give it a light brush over the cake. This is probably a crappy brush for the job too. It's leaving little dents on the cake. Probably a paintbrush would be better. Don't have one though, so... Oh, yeah, see, this is a really crappy brush for the job. I think I need to be a bit more gentle because my ganache isn't really set. So I probably don't even really need this step, I reckon. And the reason that we do this is just so that the fondant's going to stick. We need corn flour onto a flat surface. I use these special fondant rolling mats, but you could just, if you had a really flat surface bench with no divots in it, you could use that as well. And then I buy fondant from Spotlight. Sat Nice is the brand, and these 1 kilo tubs. Pull out this black fondant before I get corn flour all over it. I'm just going to knead it a little bit and just rip it open. I know I'm probably not going to need all of it. I'm just going to leave a little bit aside. I'm worried that I'm going to run out for my other cake. Whenever you're not using fondant, just make sure it stays wrapped in plastic. Otherwise it will dry out really, really quick. And so what I'm doing with this is just kneading it a little bit because it comes out a little bit crackled or cracked up and dry and yuck. You don't need to do it for very long with this Sat Nice fondant because it's pretty good stuff, I reckon. Don't buy the stuff from Coles or Woolies. It's really hard to work with, and the black stuff especially and the yellow stuff especially is really, really sticky. I'm going to try and make it into a bit of a round shape because my cake's round. That's good enough. Pop it into the middle of my mat. I have a really, really large silicone roller which has some chocolate on it for some reason. Now it's nice and clean. I just make sure it's coated with a little bit of corn flour. And my mat is, you'll probably notice on the video, stuck down with masking tape because you need to use a fair bit of muscle to roll out the fondant. Otherwise, if you don't tape it down, the mat's going to slip and go everywhere. So you should be moving the fondant around regularly to make sure it's not sticking to anything. And I'm actually really terrible at making a round shape. Somehow it's coming out square today. Doesn't matter too much. Just means that I probably need more fondant when I'm doing it because I can't seem to get the shape right. And I think an air bubble has popped up somewhere here. I've got just some pins. When you see an air bubble, you should just pop it. This 1 and 2. And then you get a thing called a fondant smoother, which is one of these. And just smooth over it and gets the air out. Okay, you still have to be conscious of having to work fairly quickly through doing this so that the fondant doesn't dry out. Give it a smooth with the fondant smoother. And the black fondant's going to have a bit of corn flour in it, but we can remove that later once it's on the cake. I kind of feel like it's big enough, and I hope it is, because sometimes I underestimate. Just make sure of it. And then I need to pick it up and lay it over the cake. So I do that with my rolling pin. Move everything out the way. This is when I need to stop the kids from coming near me or talking to me. I just roll it over the pin and then roll it away from me. Bring it over to the cake. Get it right up against the cake. Roll it across and let it flop down. Okay, once I've done that with my fondant smoother, smooth the top over as quick as I can, and then stick the sides down just with the sides of my hand. Don't know whether you can see that very good. This is quite heavy and I've used a lot of fondant, which means the more weight that gets put on the cake, the more likely it's going to be to crack at the top if I don't get that first bit stuck down pretty quickly like I've done now. Keep smoothing it because that gets all the air out. Okay, and then you're just pulling them out like a skirt, pulling the fondant out and letting it stick. If it gets a bit pushed in and you're worried that it's going to bunch up on itself, just keep pulling it out and rubbing down and just keep going around. I'm a bit short on this side, but it looks like I'll be able to hide that later. I'm a bit short there as well. So again, that's just my crappy rolling out. But depending on what cake you're making and how much flexibility you've got in the design, you can hide a lot of stuff with decoration, so it's not really that big of a deal if you mess it up. Okay, and then it's mostly down. So then I just do what I call the first cut, which is to cut off all of the excess around the edges. This fondant should still be clean and I should still be able to use it because it hasn't touched any of the chocolate. See, there's quite a lot of it. My brother-in-law Luke would be horrified that I still waste this much of it, but look, I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to put it straight back into some plastic and wrap it up so that the air is not on it anymore and hopefully it's still usable. Usually I'd only use the offcuts like that for, you know, doing a bit of modelling or making decorations, but today I'm a bit short on black fondant because I covered the bottom board with some of it, so I'm probably going to end up using it. So once I'm happy that it's all down, I take my fondant scraper and I've got to tap, get this straight, these sides are straight, and I tap the sides and it pushes the fondant in, and I've really messed up that side, but don't worry, I'll do something to cover it up. And I just push in the sides and it gives me a nice line along. I don't know if you can see it because it's black fondant, but it gives me a nice line along the bottom that I know where I can cut, and I'm going to be cutting along where the cake board is, where it actually sits underneath. So I take my fondant cutter, which looks like a blade but it's not really sharp, and I just, as I rotate the cake board, I just cut around to be able to pull some bits out. Anyway, one side is pretty badly messed up. But you know what, this cake's due today, so I'm just going to have to make it work. And all these bits of fondant that I'm pulling off now, I can't reuse them because little bits of chocolate ganache have got stuck all over it. Okay, and there's my cake all covered, so I can keep every now and then just smoothing it a little bit, then up the sides as well. That is my yucky area. I don't want to do too much to that because see, I've already smoothed it so much there that you can see the chocolate coming through underneath, and same as that little dodgy part. So that's pretty good. The next I've got to do the other tier. I'm going to sit them on this board over there. It's going to be their resting place for day.